Rocket or Mr. T. Shivani. So tight on the mic, so tight on the beat. Country boys wild, keep it high tech speed. Ladies in the line, just as far as you can see. You can ticket with your chicks in for free, but easy on that makeup, great kabuki. I can't have it coming off on these $1,000 jeans. Gotta keep them clean, PG-13. And if your man's got a problem, bitch, I ain't scared to swing. Cause Starcade blow dough, money ain't a thing. Rolex watch keeps these girls gawking. After party bottle service can't stop me. Single malt 84 Yamazaki. $1 million dreams, Ted DiBiase. The toughest thing for us is ducking these paparazzi.
Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Long limousine. Long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Long limousine. Long limousine. Jet. These Yankees wanna talk a lot of dumb shit. I think they're getting too high on the fun dip. They say they bang like a drum kit, then pull out a 45 and you call that a gun shit. Where I'm from, that's what we shoot squirrels with. So run along back home and suck you bench what I curl with. I'm not into Daft Punk, I done been around the world, bitch. Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Long limousine. Long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Long limousine. Long limousine.
Jet plane, long limousine. A brawler like Lawler and they call me the king. The belt round my waist, watch it sparkle and gleam. When I walk by, bitches turn around like a king. Jump in the game, big splash like Sting. Now Shivani on the mics like Flair in the ring. Shivani in the club, shit, I run the damn thing. Screaming out of and get a switch sparking. Woo!
Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Long limousine. Long limousine. Jet plane, long limousine. Nothing but them pretty ladies on the team. And they stop when I step on the scene like, damn, fucking clean. Bankroll, fine clothes. Pulling up in that drop top Rolls. Custom made from my head to my toes. Plus I got a yacht with a stripper pole. I be on it. Long limousine, bitch.
Jet airplanes, long limousines. Jet airplanes, long limousines. Jet airplanes, long limousines. Why don't you get a Mercedes-Benz and be a real man? Huh?
Welcome everyone to your longest running Australian wrestling podcast, Wrestle Radio Australia. I am your host, Todd Eastman. Welcome everyone here on a Friday night. If you are watching us live here on Twitch, Facebook and YouTube, I am joined here by my guest, good mate of mine, the QWA, I want to say original, but I won't say original, QWA roster member. I was going to say Queensland Openweight champion, but I fucked it up completely.
That's okay. That's fine. Hello,
Yeah.
How are you?
WA's own, the Queensland
There you go.
Openweight champion, Trent O'Day. How are you, mate?
Thank you very much. I'm very good. How are you?
Not too bad. You'd think I'd be the one that hasn't been podcasting for a while the way I started that.
You always got to practice, brother. You'll get there one day, kid.
Yeah, thanks, boss.
It's all good,
How have you been, mate? I see that tickets are selling for your next show up there. Was it Halloween, Hardcore Halloween?
Yeah, Hardcore Halloween, yeah.
It's selling like God knows.
Yeah, man. It's kind of taken off. Like because obviously we release so we've gotten into a rhythm where the Sunday after the show, the previous show, like we upload the banner and we do the poster and we do the tickets usually that next week. And I think since the new ownership has taken over and we've started to develop that habit of that happening, fans are now sort of cluing on to the fact that they can get their tickets really early, which is really a nice problem to have because we're a month or so out from the show, and we've already sold like 160 tickets, I think, like, which is like insane considering like how far out we are from the show, and we've only announced like 2 matches, so everyone's really getting behind it, which is really nice, and it seems like it's going to be a really good show as well. I think piggybacking on the back of obviously the top tier boys and Eagles and Fujita has really helped. Like, I think a lot of people, especially fans that I've spoken to outside of September, a lot of fans that missed that show were really upset about it, and when they realized that we've got Adam Brooks coming in, and it's another guy who's quite experienced and very talented, I think a lot of people are like, well, we're not going to miss that. So yeah, man, it's been taken off. It's really nice.
So tell me about the new owners, because there was a while there where it sort of seemed like QWA was a little bit stagnant, but the new owners have sort of taken over, and it's sort of like it feels like anyway that there's been sort of a new breath breathed into the place.
Definitely. Then I think one of the biggest things to remember is like everyone that's ever owned QWA or ever had something to do with QWA has only wanted the best for the company. Like straight away, like I'll say that hand on heart. Like I think everyone that's had a hand in QWA has definitely wanted the best for it. I think a change of ownership was needed though, just because obviously the guys that had owned it prior had so much work to do. Like they were very, very well known around around the Queensland or Townsville mixed martial arts scene. They had a lot to do. They had plenty of things that they needed to run and operate. And I think that if something had to give, QWA was probably going to be it. Taking into account a few little internal issues that were going on at the time, it was time for a fresh piece of ownership. And the new owners that have come in are 3 people that have followed wrestling for a long time, have loved wrestling, have loved being around our environment. And, you know, from day dot, they made it very, very clear that this was going to be a team effort moving forward, and that they were going to do everything in their power to push QWA forward, which was a really big selling point for us. Like the last thing we wanted was somebody to come in and try and make money for themselves, or to try and like stifle the growth of professional wrestling at the benefit of their own pocket. Like we didn't want any of that sort of stuff. But these guys come in and they basically, I mean, you would have met them. You would have seen sort of like what they're like. Yeah. 3 regular people who want to see wrestling grow. But the funny thing is, like, one of them used to own an MMA gym and promote an MMA school. One of them has been a wrestling fan for life and has completely gone off and like traveled all around the world and seen wrestling shows and all that. And the other one has an incredible business acumen. So it's like we've got the perfect owner in 3 different people whose skills all transfer into one really nice, and a really nice package, I guess.
Yeah. And it also helps that none of them are really active wrestlers. So there's no real, you haven't really got a conflict of interest. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, exactly right. Like none of them have even been professional wrestlers. Like one of them is training, but like is also just really happy to just be around the place. The other 2 are purely in it for the love of professional wrestling, which is such a nice thing to have as somebody looking down on a company and going, okay, you guys are the ones that can produce the wrestling. Will produce the business, and that's really, really positive. And I think
it's good to have that 500-foot view.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think like when you look at it from a business standpoint, we did a lot of cleaning. We made a lot of changes. We had to ruffle a few feathers and redress our nest a little bit, but the end result was an incredible backstage vibe. Like you were there just a few weeks ago. Like you could tell the sort of locker room that we have now as compared to a while ago. The backstage vibe's great. Everyone's keen on performing and putting on a good show, and it feels a lot more connected, and that's really shining through to our fans as well, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny because you're well renowned to be hated in Brisbane, so I mean
Yeah, brother. Hey, like, I don't know why they keep using me. I don't know what to say about it. I don't know
Who
why I keep
knows,
getting.
man?
Yeah,
Me
like,
either.
what should we?
I keep questioning that.
You know what? And you're right too. With everyone in Brisbane thinking that I'm a dick, like I have no idea what's going on.
No, I like. I think I said it on the show last week that we had a real good time up in Townsville for that thing.
Yeah.
Really fun match with Robbie and Kurzai, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun being out there.
Yeah, and like it's just, yeah. I mean, obviously, like you guys killed it, like ripped it apart. Like it was obviously an incredible match. I don't need to blow smoke up you and Mitchie and Tim. That match, and obviously, Kosei and Robbie need no introduction at all. Like that match was always going to be incredible, but it's just so fun. Like even with a crowd that was relatively small by our standards, because it conflicted with a few things that were going on. During Townsville's weekend that weekend, they were still so hot. They were still so engaged in what was going on, and I think Robbie was telling me afterwards he walked straight up to the merch table and his merch went like that, which is something that's pretty, that's a little feather in the cap for a Townsville wrestling audience to sell somebody or almost sell somebody out of merch when, you're not a well-known local guy. Like you're just an interstate that's come up.
That was the fear, like walking out there. It's like, shit, they don't really know us. They don't really know Robbie and Fujita. Like, what's going to happen here? Like, it was a legit fear. Like, geez, I hope they don't, because of the way the show was marketed. It was like Queensland versus the world. I was like, please don't think just because we're the Queensland team, we're the good guys.
But that was good. Like, and we had full faith. Like, even when we were talking about it, we were like, oh, is that something that we probably should change in terms of the marketing? Or should we just keep it the way it is and just sort of see what happens? Or, do we sort of play it as maybe face v face and someone takes the heel role? But I think we all then sat down after those fears settled down and we were like, no, let top tier go out, do their thing. Because the only person realistically that any of their crowd was going to know in that match was Tim.
Yeah.
Because some people,
and he was a totally different character then.
Hey?
It was a totally different sort of character.
Yeah, exactly. But they remember the name Tim Hayden because he come up like quite consistently. So if anyone was going to remember anybody, it was going to be Tim Hayden. But even then, we were like, top tier are going to do their thing and do it well. And then it's all on Robbie and Fujita to just soak up the face, that face reaction. And obviously they did it really, really well. But the whole match was really fun. And all of the feedback that we had post that show was just how incredible it was to have those people up in Townsville. So I think that's definitely helped as well.
Yeah, no, like I said, it was very fun. It was very fun. It was a nice feeling backstage, a nice environment backstage, which is like, it's hard. Like for a while there, for a lot of places, there was that cloud over things, and like certain people have left and all that sort of thing. And it's sort of like, it's made a lot of backstages just fun to be in. Yeah. Like last weekend at Wide Bay, it's sort of like, it hit me for like the third or fourth or fifth show in a row. We all just sit around and watch the show. Yeah. And then two people will get up and go out and do their match, and we'll watch them, and then they come back, and then we go. Yeah. It's sort of like, it's really, it's so puts such less stress on everyone when the environment is like that, when everyone sort of gets along backstage. And that's such a good thing. And for a long time there was certain backstages you'd walk into and you're like, oh, you can feel the animosity.
It's so hard, man, because obviously like wrestling's filled with eclectic personalities, and like sometimes those personalities just don't gel. And that's one thing. Like it's the same as in any sports locker room. Like there are just people that don't get along or that don't whatever. And to a certain degree, you can tolerate that. But there's also those, you can feel when there's somebody who's just a little bit standoffish as a person, and you're like, okay, that's fine. I'll just ignore them. But the rest of the vibe is great. And then you can tell when you walk into a locker room and you're like, something's off in here. something stinks. And then you walk around and you can feel like what that's like. And you do feel like, even as somebody who might have felt that walking into a locker room down in Brisbane, like where I'm not from, you can walk in instantly and be like, something's definitely not right in here. And even me as an out of towner, you feel like you're walking on eggshells and you have no idea why. And I think for a long time, for one reason or another, I think our locker room used to feel like that. But now it seems to have changed. And I'm sure at Wide Bay, you've had that same feeling where you walk in and you're like, oh my God, there's actually not that air of stink anymore that surrounds the place.
You kind of would have probably felt it at Wide Bay because you were there sort of when like the flux sort of happened. And when everything sort of settled down. And
look, to be honest, because I was still, you guys have to remember that like Wide Bay was like maybe my second or third ever traveling show. So I actually didn't like know that much about what a traveling roster was like. I didn't really understand it. So I was just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and happy to be there. And sort of like, because I'd only met you like once or twice before. And you'd gone out of your way to say, hey, you guys should come down. And I was like, well, that's really nice. Like, of course we'll come down. And then obviously the people that we were talking to was mainly Tim and Bobby and whoever else happened to be on that show that one night. And so all of that other stuff, when you're a new guy in a new environment, it sort of skips over you a little bit. And then afterwards, when somebody brought it up and was like, oh, did you notice X, Y, Z? Then I sort of went, okay, that's what I saw this. And then that's why this person's reaction was this. And then you piece it together. But whilst I was there, because I was so young and new, I just didn't care. I was like, no, this is awesome. I'm at another company.
I'm a real wrestler.
Like. Yeah, I'm a wrestler. This is what wrestling is. Okay, it's different locker rooms, different people. And you don't get involved in the backstage politics of other companies, especially not on your first trip. So I could not have cared less about what was going on. I was just super happy to be there and super happy to work a tag match with my friends. Which sounds naive, I know, but it is what it is, right?
No, but it's like it's weird for me now because I've been doing it for like 12 years. But for the first what was it? Probably 5 or 6. It was all in the one company. It wasn't really until I moved up here that I worked different companies. Because back then, when I started in Adelaide, it was you pretty much stayed in your company. It's not like it is nowadays, it's so much better nowadays down there because you can work like Rampage, you can work Riot City, you can work ACW, you can work like PWSA. You can do all of that, and it's all cool. But back then, it was like I keep telling the story. We did like this. It was a really weird. It wasn't weird. It was like a talent swap thing where we did a series of 2 matches with Damian Slater. It was like Chris Basso and me and Damian Slater. So we had Damian at Riot City, and then we did a screw job finish. And then we went to Rampage so he could get his comeuppance.
Yeah.
And we walked into Rampage, and we walked down the aisle. And this woman just leans over and just yells right in Cree's face, I don't know who the fuck you are. Yeah. And that's in the same town. So, like, it tells you how divided even the fans were. Like, fans stuck to...
Yeah, right. So it was very allegiance-based. Like, if
very
your
much
allegiances were here, then they were here, and that's it.
Yeah. I had to hold back the laugh because I knew I was getting kicked out very early into the match.
I would have popped huge. I would have laughed immediately. Like, if somebody says that to anyone in my vicinity, I would have exploded.
Nowadays I would have. But back then I was like, I think I patted Cree on the back and said, well, good luck, brother. I'm out of here in about 5.
Oh, that's awesome. No,
but now, like, when I got up here, it was like, oh, wow, everybody works every show, or everybody works the shows that they want to work. That's pretty cool. It's a great way to get more experience than working the one show a month.
Oh, man, it's so good to get reps in. Like, honestly, one of the worst things about Townsville, and it's obviously something that we're going to try and work to change in the future, but we only get 10 shows a year up here. Like, so I could work for a decade and only have 100 matches, 100 QWA matches to my name, right? So a lot of what stands as getting reps in for me is traveling. So going out, traveling, and doing as much as I possibly can, or I'm getting in-ring reps in at training. So like doing mock matches, and it doesn't give you that crowd response necessarily, but it does give you at least some footwork and positioning and pacing and trying to work those little things out. But one of the hardest things about being in Townsville is there's no other shows. There's one a month, and if we only do 10 a year, well, there's your 10 matches. Like, you get 10 matches a year, whereas down in Brisbane, what's there, like 5 promotions or something like that down there? Yeah. Which is just insane. And they could run one every week.
To be fair, I only work the one and then Wide Bay. But I'm like, exactly. I'm at the point now where I'm uber selective. Like, if I wanted to, I could probably work more.
But you don't. And you're at the point where you don't need to. Like, for someone who really wants to get their reps in and develop their craft, Brisbane's a really nice place to do that, because there are so many promotions around, and you can pretty much pick and choose where you want to work. And most promoters are pretty perceptive and pretty inclusive of letting you at least have a go. So that's nice. Whereas if I want to do that, hey, brother, here's an $800 flight coming down for this weekend and then return. Hope you don't mind. And it's really difficult to do, which is something that QWA, I think, wants to change. But we need the numbers, and we need the revenue, and we need the consistency before we can do that.
That's exactly. You got to walk before you can run. And too many promotions I've seen try to run before they can walk.
Yeah, exactly. We can't run a weekly product. We couldn't even run a 3-weekly product. No. It's once a month with a couple of strategic gaps, especially when the Cowboys come into final season and when the Cowboys, start the season. So like, we've got to avoid that. And then we've got to avoid the supercars. But outside of that, we've got to be very selective when we pick dates, because we're just not at that standard of where we could hold events every second week or every third week, because numbers will drop down to 20, 10, 15 people, because not everyone wants to go to wrestling every weekend.
Yeah. And not only that, like, unfortunately, the way the climate is, not anyone can afford that shit.
Yeah, exactly right.
Just can't. Personally, I don't think if I wasn't in the business, I could probably not afford to go to every show every weekend. I just couldn't do it. Like, I'm missing that show.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Has to be something that pulls me in to watch that show.
And that's the other thing too, is when you develop a company, you then have to start looking for, like, you have to look at the outside influences, like rates going up and everything's getting more expensive. So then you have to start looking at, well, when does the wrestling company draw the line in the sand and raise their ticket prices? Because if you start doing that, then you're going to price some people who save all of their money to come to wrestling shows, because that may be all they have, because Cowboys tickets are $80 or whatever they are. So I'll save it for my $20 wrestling show. But then if you up the tickets to $30, well, now I'm not going to come for 2 months because I tried to save all my money to come to this one. It's really difficult to try and manage, especially in a smaller town like Townsville.
Smaller town, yeah. Also, I mean, like, I don't, because I'm not really all that familiar with how big or small Townsville is. Could they sustain like 2 promotions? I don't know if they could.
No way.
Yeah.
And if they did, right? So you could run 2 promotions, absolutely. Your attendance would immediately get cut in half. And basically, one of 2 things would have to happen. Either half of your roster would have to go to the other company and convince their following, their local friends and family, to go with them so that they could help bolster those numbers, or you're starting effectively from scratch and having 2 completely separate companies, in which case the smaller company is well up against it. Like well up against it. And then if you're just going to conjoin rosters anyway, well, what's the point? Just join the other company and just run bi-weekly or whatever. You're still going to have the same attendance cuts. You're still going to have the same issues. But if you're going to join the rosters anyway, you might as well just, run all under one banner. But I don't think it could sustain. It's not that big, man. Like it couldn't sustain two companies, I don't think.
It's like I was watching. I don't know. Have you watched or do you watch Heels at all?
I watched season 1. I haven't watched season 2 yet, but I know the two warring feds, like the Duffy DWL and the other one.
Yeah, just wrestling something dystopia.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, future wrestling dystopia or whatever it is.
We were watching it the other day, and it was one of those scenes where it was before the start of a show, and all these people were coming into the building and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And my wife looked at me. She goes, "That's legit your dream, isn't it? It's like if you could live in a little town and just do a wrestling show every week in your own little building, that you could say that is my dream. I could tell my own stories. I don't have to wait for it. I have my roster of guys that I'm quite happy with. That's the dream. Like
that is genuinely
being able to."
No, you go.
Go on. No, you go.
I was just saying, it's so funny you brought this up because I was talking with Gabe just the other day, and we were talking about Heels, and he just went, "They have no idea how lucky they are. They're full shed that they can use whenever they want, and it's a whole venue, and they're so lucky. Instead of whinging about, oh, this talent can't put this over, or this chick won this belt, man, screw you. You got your own venue. You're having a great time." We were so angry about the fact these guys don't know how lucky they are to have their own shed and their own venue that they can run out of, because that is legitimately, as you said, the dream, the absolute dream to have that.
I can't remember what storyline it was, but there was one thing where we were watching it. My wife goes, "Well, that would never happen." I was just going, "Babe, that has happened."
That's definitely happened before.
I know that's happened in a few places. She's like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yes."
Yes. It's so funny, bro. Like, it's so... Like, my missus is the same. We watched the first season of Heels together, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, does that even happen in wrestling?" And I just turn around and go, "Almost every week." Like, you have no idea. You're so sheltered with the cookie cutter wrestling that you get at QWA, which is all just friends and family just having a bit of a hug and a good time. You have no idea the rubbish that occurs at other places. And she just goes, "Oh, okay," and then just sits very quietly and watches the rest of it unfold.
What was that? We were watching the documentary series, The Wrestlers.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Is it good?
Yeah, it is good. It is good. How they lose fucking $30,000 a month or a week, I'd have no idea. I don't know where they're spending all their money, but that's the side thing.
I really want to watch it. I've heard such crazy things come out of this documentary, and I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, we're watching it, and there's this scene when something happens, and Al Snow's like this going like that, and my wife just goes, "That's you, isn't it? You're Al Snow." I'm like, I was like, "Yep."
To be fair, I have seen you pull this multiple times while just watching a show. And it's usually during my match, I'm sure, but also after I come out the back and I'm sitting there and I'll have a chat to a few people, and I just occasionally look over at Todd, and there's you just doing this, and I'm like, Todd's having a bad time.
I'm not having a bad time. I'm just thinking of a way we can get around things.
Oh, it's so funny. The amount of times I just look at you, and you go from being like, "Hey man, great to see you," laugh, 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 and then somebody comes and chirps in your ear, and then you immediately just like, "Oh,"
yeah,
and you just start doing it and walking away from everybody whilst you go and sort some absolute garbage that's happened.
Time to solve this problem.
Really funny.
That's like I think it was Mitch the other day. We were going to a show, and something. Oh, it was before. It was before the multiple choice show that we did, the Pick Your Poison show.
Oh,
and we had to work
social media thing.
Yeah. And we had to work away. This is before all these matches came up, because that was like the month before. And we had to work away because Mitch was going away for a wedding and I was going down to Adelaide. So we just weren't going to be there the next month.
Yeah.
So I've just gone, well, we'll just do like a loser leaves for 60 days. Like you can leave and then I'll get suspended with you. And he's like, how did you think of that so quick? I went, I have no idea, bro. It's just like, I have to solve this problem. Here it is.
You just have the Booker's solving initiative. You just like, I know exactly. You just have like wrestlers have like a selection of moves that they pick it out of their head. You have a filing cabinet of just shit that you can just pull out and just go, all right, this is how I can navigate all of these problems right now. And then that's just how you pull from.
The funniest thing is, like, I'll watch something on a show and I can tell either how old the booker is or what his influence is, just because all of my shit, like, I steal a lot of my shit from Mid-South Wrestling, like ideas, just adapt them to now, because it's been 30 to 40 years. Chances are no one in that crowd is going to know or remember any of that shit.
And even if there's one guy, and he's like, hey, that sounds like this Mid-South angle. And then everyone goes, shut up, granddad, you're old. Like, no one's listening to you anymore. What you're saying is not real. And then he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
No one really cares.
That's true. That's true.
Sorry, I'm not trying to bury your Mid-South Wrestling ideas.
No, that's fine. I don't care because I love Mid-South Wrestling. I think it's great. Like the classic storylines, amazing.
I genuinely couldn't think of one. If you told me them, I'd be like, oh yeah, but other than that, sorry. I'm one of the other people in the crowd that would look at you as being a booking god and just being like, oh my God, this guy has so many cool ideas.
There was a while when we had when COVID was happening, it was sort of coming out of COVID, and we were sort of like, I was thinking I wanted to do something different to all the shows that we had on. Like we had Pro League, we had Wide Bay, and all that modern stuff like that. So I had this idea, and I still have all the stuff written for it. And like, if I can ever afford it one day, I'm going to do it. Where it's basically like I pretended that I was going to pretend that there was somewhere found in a community TV station here in Brisbane, they'd found these old tapes of 1980s wrestling from like Queensland wrestling in the 1980s. So it was a whole roster of made up names and like gimmicks and what they were and all that stuff. And so I was going to film like portions of matches, make them look like they're in the 80s and all that to set up the storylines.
Okay.
Because we said these are found tapes, they weren't full tapes, were they? We couldn't find full shows.
Of course not.
We've got snippets of shows. So here's a snippet we found. Here's another snippet we found. Oh, this show is going to be happening at this date. And that's where we're going to have the show there. And we were going to make out like everything in that venue, we were going to try and dress like it was the 80s. Like
that's so cool.
We put up that sort of stuff, put up like posters with like old prices, but then underneath say what the real price of the stuff is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
During the show on the big screen, we'd have like we'd cut back to like Mean Gene type interviews, but between that there would be like 1980s TV ads playing.
Yeah.
So it would look like
the talent doing the ads and stuff.
No, not like literally. I would rip like old TV ads from the 80s.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you look on YouTube, you can find these ads. So it's like the new Datsun 180B, like all that sort of stuff. Like try and make it seem as much like 1980s as possible. And just for that,
really fun. I would have loved to have seen that.
I'll show you some stuff that I've got after this. I'll show you some stuff that I got because I got a whole roster and a show written, ready to go. But it's just a matter of
cool. Would you then do like every year? Would you go to like a different time period, or would you? I mean, you'd run out of them pretty quick, but like you could recycle them.
That was the thing that's what I was thinking. I didn't know if I would do that or if I do. Oh look, we found some more from later on that year. We found some more
Okay.
Because I think
you just keep revisiting that.
Yeah, because personally, I think like the 80s is probably it's a more fun time in wrestling. Yeah. Because people still believed it was real.
Yeah.
And it was more like they more bought into it and people could be more like they could let themselves go more. And if you're at a show, if you're at a show where you feel like it's that, then maybe they would let themselves go as well and buy into the stuff a bit more.
I think fans are always looking, from my experience anyway, fans are always looking for something to latch onto, right? So like if if there's, especially like because our hardcore Halloween show is dressing up, and it's usually the talent are in gimmick, like full like costumes and stuff. So we dress up as well. We dress the whole stage up. We do everything we can to like make it as Halloweeny as possible. I think that fans latch onto that, and that's why they love that particular show. I think so. If you bill something as something that they can latch onto and grow with and like be involved with, I genuinely think that's a big selling point for fans, because it's like, hey, we're also part of this. We also get to be a part of your show, and that I think means a lot to them. So I think they get right behind it, man. I think they'd absolutely love that sort of stuff as well.
It's sort of like there was the stuff like, because I know with when Grindhouse was a thing, there was a lot of stuff that people bought into with that, and it's also, I think, the reason why every year like Rumbles sell tickets, because it's like you said, it's a thing people can latch onto, think people will like.
Yep, and it's something that they've seen a million times. Like they know straight away, oh yeah, this is what this is for. I've seen the Royal Rumble a million times. I know exactly what's going on. And so they feel like they're part of it. And therefore they're like, oh, cool, let's go and see what this Rumble's about. And then they buy a ticket for it.
Yeah. And it's like, because, well, I know at least when Grindhouse did, they used to do Purge Rumble. That thing sold out every time.
Yeah, I've never been on a Purge Rumble. I really want to be in one.
Yeah. Well, like now Pro League are doing it as well. But back in the day we used to do it at the Globe Theatre.
Yeah.
And that would be like every seat in that theatre was sold, and people were standing in the aisles down the side and down the back.
Holy moly. That's so cool.
Packed. Yeah,
I love that sort of stuff. Shows.
I used to hate the fact that because I couldn't sneak out to watch. I used to be able to, like, on most shows with the Grindhouse, because it was like full on cinema seating, but then like the back was where the tech area was. The very back row was the tech area. So I could scoot out and hide in the tech area and watch the show. Yeah. And on those shows, you just couldn't do it because there was people everywhere.
That's so cool, man. Like when you pack out venues like that, I love that stuff. Like that just to me is like, even if they're small venues, you know what I mean? Like even if the number isn't impressive, even if it's 120 people, but they're shoulder to shoulder and they're all in this tight space and they're just rowdy. I don't know why. That to me is way better than, at least to me, it would feel way better, I think, than 600 people all sat very politely a meter apart from everybody else, just watching calmly and sort of, oh, that's a nice spot. That's very nice. Like, to me, I'd rather just like raucous back to back, shoulder to shoulder, screaming at fans than, 600 people sitting politely and just going, oh, this is quite a nice wrestling event you've got going. And I'm like,
that must have been so hard for like the New Japan workers.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Because for a good year, even after COVID, there was that no cheering policy.
That blew my mind. I didn't think what Robbie said. I didn't know that. Robbie told me about that in the car when I was driving him around. He was like, yeah, there's a no cheering policy. And that blew me away because I thought he was joking. I thought he was like taking the piss out of me. And I'm like, no, that's not a real thing that people have done. No. They sat there in silence and just. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. You couldn't do that here. That's the difference.
That was Jay White's thing, was to try and make them make noise because he knew they weren't allowed to. So he would stir them up to try and make noise because he knew that legally they weren't allowed to.
That's so good, man. You couldn't enforce that here. There's absolutely no way that you could enforce that in Australia. The COVID restrictions barely worked as it was. I know. So if you could imagine trying to take away cheering.
You could barely make people wear masks, let alone like be quiet.
Let alone be quiet at a sporting event. Could you imagine like trying to get like the Cowboys supporters, like God love Townsville, but Jesus, oh my Lord, trying to get them to shut up at a rugby league event, absolutely no chance. No way. The stadium would have to be empty.
Yeah. But also too, like, and I think I said it when the whole COVID thing was going on, we were talking about like the Thunderdome and all of that sort of thing. It must have been so hard for those workers to get that adrenaline buzz that they would normally get from a crowd, because you're just looking out there and there's monitors looking at you.
Yeah.
There's not real crowds. It's a piped in sound. So you're not like, the sound's cool and it sounds great, but you don't get the feeling from that sound.
Yeah. And or even before that, when they didn't have anything, like when it was the like just out there empty stadium or whatever, before the Thunderdome was even a thing, I can see, like Coyote just said there, like that would drive me insane, the no cheering. I don't think I could have gone out there. I genuinely think that I would have just walked out. All the air would have been sucked out of my body. And I just feel like there's no reason for me to do this, except for maybe, you know, the massive pay packet that I was about to receive. But outside of that, like the love for me is like the noise and like getting people to do stuff. If I was just sitting there in silence with a wrist lock on,
it's hard to do the babies when there's no one to cheer for you, mate.
Yeah, exactly right. Like it's all that stuff just doesn't translate really well, and that would have driven me insane. And then for Japan to only have just gone back to cheering somewhat recently, like when did they actually get the cheering rule abolished, or the no cheering rule abolished?
I can't remember. It wasn't too long ago, though. It was only a couple of months ago that I recall rightly anyway.
So that would have, I couldn't do that, man. Like,
because if I remember rightly, they kept having like flare-ups. Yeah. So they get close to it, and then there'd be a flare-up. They go, oh, no, not yet. Get close to it. No, not yet. No. But basically the way Victoria used to be with the lockdowns and
No, I just
Wrestle Kingdom this year was back. Yeah, it might have been Coyote. I'm not too sure. Sorry for those listening at home. Giant Coyote says, want to say Wrestle Kingdom this year was back. So yeah, I'm not too sure. Actually, I'll try and Google it while we're here.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've actually been watching a lot of New Japan recently, and I have to say it's purely because Robbie was on the show, and I don't even care that that's like a shameless plug for like what he does. But I have been watching a bunch of New Japan recently, and I really, really like it. I think New Japan is super fun to watch, and I didn't really have any interest in looking at their stuff really ever. Purely because it wasn't my redneck soap opera that WWE or AEW usually is. But to be fair, after just watching a few shows, even though I don't fully understand like what's being said or what's happening, like it's really, really fun, man. Really, really fun to watch. So if anyone's not watching New Japan, get around it because it's really good.
New Japan crowds will be allowed to cheer again in 2023. So it was this year. So
yeah, I reckon Wrestle Kingdom.
February 11th. Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom. That's what it was.
There you go.
You were
boom.
Right, Coyote.
Giant Coyote smashed it.
If I had a prize, I'd give it to you. But I don't, so you don't get one.
So you don't get anything.
So you don't get anything. You get a hearty, well done, mate.
You get pride.
Yeah. Pride and a job well done. Like we talked before about like us, like top tier walking into like QWA when no one really knew us and starting that. You sort of did that too down at EPW. How was that when you had the Coastal Championship match?
Oh man, people get sick of me talking about this because I flog this dead horse like every single time people ask me about it.
Yeah, we got time to kill, so I don't care.
EPW first of all is just the best, just some of the best locker room vibes, some of the best like bunch of people that I've been around in professional wrestling. Like they had absolutely no rhyme or reason to book me in the match that they did. They had absolutely no reason to treat me as kindly as they did. They were so polite, so welcoming, and you know, they knew that where I was coming from in terms of like even a training standpoint, they knew that I was going to be very inexperienced in a lot of the things that they were doing. And that's purely because of the talent they have training their guys over there. Like when you've got
Yeah.
people like Marcus Pitt, Don Morleone, Damian Slater, Davis Storm, when you have people of that caliber taking training and showing you how to wrestle, you're going to be good no matter pretty well who you are, which is like a massive testament to them. So me going over, they knew straight away that I was not going to be anywhere near as crisp or as clean as what they were. And they still didn't care. They were really, really polite. They helped me out a lot. Like I learned so much in the week that I was training before there. And then when you talk about crowd, I was really worried because I thought that their crowd, Coyote just says it changes everything working under them. And it absolutely does. Like just sitting under the learning tree for like 5 days was insane. And I learned so much. But the crowd going out there, I was really worried because this is a crowd that has had fantastic wrestling shoehorned to them for the better part of 20 years now. They've had quality more often than not, and they seem like they're a bit of an older crowd. They don't necessarily seem like not that they're not family friendly, but they seem a lot more geared towards a bit of an older fan base, which isn't in my wheelhouse. So I do like we're family friendly, right? Like a lot of PWA audiences are kids, and you would have seen that when you come up in September. So a lot of the stuff that I do is very geared towards children and trying to get over with a crowd of children. And I was very worried that these guys were going to see through me. Their crowd was going to see through me straight away and be like, this guy is absolutely not on the caliber of the guys that we're used to. And also he's from Brisbane. Well, to their knowledge, like he's from Queensland, he's from Brisbane, whatever. We're not really going to give a shit about this match. And to my surprise, as soon as I stepped out through the curtain, I got the politest smattering of applause, which was really nice considering like I've walked out in front of audiences in Brisbane where I've wrestled before and got nothing. Like absolute silence. I've wrestled in front. It happened at PWL for the ladder match. Like I love PWL, but I walked out there to almost silence. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is a really tough crowd to get going. Like I'm going to have to work hard to get them on my side here. Perth, they were very much like, hey buddy, thanks for making the trip over. We're going to try and, we're going to try and do our best for you now. And obviously they were super hot for Bruno. Like Bruno Nitro, the guy I wrestled, was very, very over. So that helped a lot as well. And we did a gimmick, which was given to me, where basically we started off as face. And the way that it worked and the way it was pitched to me was kind of like, you're never going to get this opportunity to turn heel mid-match. Like everyone always turns heel pre-match or post-match. Because like, you're never going to get this opportunity to turn heel mid-match, which is going to be really fun. So you should take the opportunity and use it. And I was like, yep, absolutely. So we wrestled face. And then every time Bruno got up, I got a little bit more frustrated. And then finally I snapped and just started wailing on him and started like pulling hair and doing all that stuff. And the crowd instantly were like, thank God we don't have to cheer this guy anymore. And they all lifted very kindly. So, they were great, man. I couldn't speak highly enough of that company, honestly. And I would 100% go back. 100% go back. And hopefully I do get to go back because I loved it over there.
We also did you do one or two of the super camps?
I did one super camp, and then I got COVID. I got the COVID at the same time Timmy and Lloyd did. So I did one super camp, got COVID, couldn't wrestle on the show. Brendo did two. So Seth Tylers did two super camps. He did one, got COVID like on the Wednesday, so couldn't wrestle. So he went back the next super camp and sort of got his redemption arc there. I was going to do the second super camp, but I couldn't make it because of something that I had on. So I said to Slats, hey man, do you mind if I just come over and train for a week? Like I'm on school holidays, I've got nothing on. Do you mind if I just come over and train? Because I really want to sort of finish that camp off and get something out of it. And he said, yeah, absolutely. And then EPW got in contact and were very nice and put me on the show, which I think was originally I was just meant to be on the pre-show, which I was like, yep, cool, I'm happy with that. Like I would have taken any wrestling at that point, but to then be put into a coastal championship match with Bruno was really, really nice. I really, really enjoyed it.
So that was like because for someone who's from like where you are up in Townsville, it's quite isolated. You're working a fair like collection of places now. Like you work with Russell Wide Bay, you work Pro League, you worked at EPW. Is there a chance that you want to try and work like say in Adelaide with Rampage
Absolutely.
or Riot City, or do you know what I mean?
100%.
Is there anything? So it's just all a matter of working.
Yeah, like honestly, there are so many places. There are so many places that I want to work, and usually it's not necessarily for like the prestige or the notoriety of working these places. It's usually because the people that I've met from there have been so welcoming and so open to like just having me and meeting me and talking to me that like I feel like I want to learn from those people. And obviously, like, okay, so for example, like I would love to go and work, you know, wrestle like Rampage or Riot City, right? Like down in Adelaide. I'd love to work either of those two promotions. But not only would it be a benefit to me because I would get to wrestle on those promotions if I could ever work there, but I've met like Istria, I've met Ryan, like Matt Hayter, I've met those guys, and they were both so nice and so kind and like willing to help me where they could, that I feel like it would only be befitting like of something like it'd almost be like me not paying them back, but like sort of showing how interested I am to learn from those people, that I would want to go down there and just train with them just because I feel like they're really nice people and I think they have something to offer me. Because I could definitely sorry.
But also you get to take something back to the school up there in Townsville.
Exactly. And that's one of the biggest things. I did another podcast today, funnily enough. I did one.
I see.
I did one. It was a Townsville-based podcast, and they talk about local businesses. And we were just talking about the importance of, like, you know, planting a seed in the shade and planting a seed in the soil and not ever getting the chance to sit in its shade. And that's kind of. Was that
like the post I wrote the other day?
Oh yeah, exactly that. That's probably where I got it from. But that's effectively. See, I'm just a big Todd fan, honestly. I really am.
No, I say no. You just ripped my shit off. No, that's fine. That's all good.
I realize that it seems like I'm taking your teachings and just sort of using them as my own, and I don't care.
Yeah, that's all right.
No, but like, so that was another thing that we talked about was I'm going to all these places and learning, but it's not necessarily just for me. Like, obviously, I want to learn 100%, but when I go over and Slats taught me all of this stuff, I then immediately came back, and the first night that I run training, I was like, "Oi, we're going to do this, 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 and this, because this is what I learned. And if I ever go down to Adelaide, which I'm really hoping I want to do next year, I want to then bring that stuff, and I'll bring that back. And then when I go to PWA and hook up with some people down there, I want to take that stuff and bring that back, because I really do see the value in, if I'm going to be the one that preaches quality training, and if I'm going to be the one that preaches that we need to raise our standards and be a better company, I need to be the one to lead that charge. I need to be the one to show everyone what I've learned and be that vehicle for change. My job outside of wrestling is teaching, right? So I'm not a stranger to that knowledge side of things. I'm not a stranger to how powerful knowledge can be and what the gift of teaching someone can actually do for them. But it's all well and good just saying, oh yeah, just, you know, go to some schools, go and learn. No, I have to go to that school. I have to learn first, so that then not only can I pass that knowledge on, but I can also then recommend those schools to other places. And that just makes it come full circle for me. So
but that's
yeah,
that's also how like EPW started. Like Stormy and a few others would go to Adelaide, learn from Coldavani, and take all that stuff back to Perth and go, this is what I learned on this trip.
Yeah. And that's
they would
exactly
just keep doing that.
And that's exactly what I'm doing. Like every time, like And this is why I think I get so frustrated when people don't take advantage of like seminars and things like that, because I understand that not everybody wants to wrestle a show and then the next day back it up and do another seminar. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And money gets in the way and things like that. But at the same time, when am I ever going to have an opportunity to learn from Robbie Eagles again? Unless I travel to PWA and learn from him, you know, which could happen, it might not, like depending on what his schedule is like. Like this, I know for a fact is going to happen. So I'm obviously going to take advantage of that opportunity. And then if any of my rookies weren't there that Sunday, well, guess what? Monday, we're drilling the same thing because I'm going to teach everybody the thing that I learned. And that's a large part of why I'm traveling now, is just because I need to show everyone, like I need to show people what's out there to learn, because I think you've got to lead by example, and that's what a good coach should be doing.
Yeah, and it drives me crazy when I hear about like promotions that say, I don't want you to go and do those seminars. I don't want you to, like, I've never, like, to the day I die, I will never understand that logic at all. Please learn as much as you can from everywhere. Bring it back to us. It makes us stronger.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I've never understood it. And like to your point, not only the don't travel to another company and do those seminars, but even the don't work for another company. Like, A, who are you to tell anybody where they can or can't ply their trade? But B, if they go somewhere and they have a good experience, good on them. Well done them for going to those places and having a good experience and taking something away from it. And you know what? If they go somewhere and they have a shit experience, lesson learned. Lesson learned. Like, it is what it is. And like, you know, that you don't get to dictate what other people do with their spare time. Like, there's no real companies in Australia that can really preach you're our contracted worker and you won't work anybody else. Like, we haven't got a WWE branch over here. Like, what are you talking about? Let people go out and wrestle. Yeah.
The only thing that, like, on the other side of that, the only thing I ever say is just look at the company first.
100%.
Don't go and wrestle for any initials. Watch the show.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's me being, watch the show, look at the product first and go, look, does this make me better or does this make me worse?
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was when you're first starting out, like, you know, you can take as many bookings as you want because you want to try and be, you know, as available to those people, especially coming from somewhere that's isolated, right? Mm-hmm. But then one of the best pieces I got after that is there's value in exclusivity, right? Yes. So there's value in not working every rinky-dink promotion that is around the country. There's value in actually picking and choosing the ones where you're going to get something out of it and where you're going to actually feel like you're learning. Now, that's on the worker to do that research. Like I said, I'm not stopping anyone from working anywhere. You want to work somewhere? Go ahead, buddy. Pay your flights, you know, get your Uber, get your Maccas, whatever you need to do, live your dream. But it's up to you to do your own research. And if there are companies out there with people that are working unsafe or promotions that don't pay their workers or whatever it happens to be, and you get stiffed or you get, you know, hurt or whatever it is, you should have done your research. And that's a learning experience for you as well. Like, we can't hold everyone's hands through everything. And whilst we don't have the right to bar somebody from going somewhere, you need to take it on yourself to do your own research. Yeah.
I have, like, nowadays I sort of have, there's like a 2 criteria sort of thing. It's like, is this show of the same standard of shows that I work on currently? And if it's not, are they making really significant efforts to change that? And that I can help? Because really, if it wasn't for that second criteria, I never would have went to Wide Bay to start with. Yeah,
and that's fine. Like, if you can see a value in something that you can offer someone, like if you're like, hey, for example, like for me, if I was going to look at a promotion, if another company started tomorrow in Townsville and they were like, hey, what can you offer? I could probably go, hey, I do QWA's social media, like posters and banners and stuff. I could probably help you with your promotion and production. I could definitely, you know, outside of the in-ring stuff that I could obviously help out with, like I could definitely go and help, like in that sense. But if I can't offer you anything, or if I can't help something in some way, or if it's too far gone, then you've really got to pick and choose your battles with that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Coyote asked, do you feel people should go and help those companies that are struggling? Like I said, Coyote, yeah, for me, yeah, Trent, like that. For me, it's like I have to look like they're trying to.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are a lot of people out there, and you'll see they'll say all of those things, but then you look at the product and like, but you're not trying. I can tell you're not trying. This is just lip service.
Yeah. If you want help, you'll look like you want help. If you want help, I will help you. And if you genuinely want help, I will genuinely want to help you. But there are companies out there that say that they want to be the next big thing in Aussie or Queensland or New South Wales wrestling or whatever it happens to be. But what they say and what they do are completely different things. And then when you offer your help, they spit in your face and they don't respond, or they don't, you know, they try and take you for all you're worth. And those companies, no, you shouldn't go and help those companies, because those companies don't deserve help. But if you genuinely want help and you're willing to ask and swallow your pride and ask somebody, hey, listen, is there something you could provide me with and I will repay you by, or I want to grow this by, you know, then yeah, absolutely go and help those. But you need to be selective.
Yeah. See, that's like putting it back to Wide Bay. When I went up there, I could see that like it was what it was, but I could see that Anthony and Kate, the owners, truly wanted to make it better. They truly wanted to do all that they could to make it somewhere that people wanted to come to the shows, and the shows were quality shows. They didn't really, they wanted to sell as many tickets as they could, but they wanted to do that off the back of the show being really good.
Absolutely.
And they just, because they're not wrestling people, they're not from a wrestling thing, they didn't really know how to connect those two things. And a lot of the people that they had surrounding them beforehand were really just like, well, I'll put myself in there and I'll make myself the champion of everything. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, well, no, they're helping themselves. They're not helping you.
Yeah. And that's one of the things with our new owners at QWA. And that's when all of the committee sat down and we said, right, what needs, and the first question was, they said, what do you need from us? Not what can you do for us? What do you need from us in order to help grow this thing? And that was a really refreshing question, because it was like, well, actually, we could use a little bit in production value and we could use a little bit in this and that. And they said, awesome, done.
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to build a better product. How can we assist you in building something greater? Not what are you guys doing to make our product good? It was, how can we help? And that was really, really refreshing. And that's how I knew straight away that QWA was worth, it sounds melodramatic, but worth saving.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I knew QWA was worth saving, because that question got asked and I was like, yes, that's the right one. That's what I wanted.
I know when there was people that I told that I was taking the book at Wide Bay, they were just like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Like, that's like, the company has the worst reputation of, maybe the worst reputation in Australian wrestling. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, they want to get better. And I can see that I said, honest, like, to be perfectly honest, and I've said this to Anthony, when I took over, I was like, this is going to be the biggest challenge of my career. And I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
Because everywhere I'd been before, man, like Riot City was already Riot City.
Yeah.
When I took the book at Riot City, when I took the book with Cree at Riot City, it was already Riot City. We just built it up a little bit more. This was for me, it was like a ground up. I got to build something it felt like from the ground up.
Yeah. And you know what? Trust me, Wide Bay's reputation, for someone, it reached me. And I had nothing to do with Brisbane wrestling at that point. And I remember being like, whoa, this doesn't seem like a nice place to be. And there were lots of the people that were saying, you know, Wide Bay's rubbish and yada, yada, yada. And then I think it was after. Did you get the book after I'd met you, or had you just gotten it after?
After.
Just after.
We'd known each other. Yeah, we'd known each other for a bit because
because I remember someone telling me Todd's got the book at Wide Bay, and that's when Johnny and I started going, all right, if Todd wants our help, we'll go. Because that was the biggest thing for us was, okay, if he's gonna ask, we'll go. And sure enough, like we ran some really fun stuff with Top Tier down there, which is really, really great. And like it's just been on the up and up since. And now Wide Bay is up there with one of the most fun promotions to work, I think, if it wasn't so out of the way, which it suffers from Townsville syndrome a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's so much fun to go there. Like I've never had a bad time there, actually, despite the fact that I'm sure a lot of people have for certain reasons. I've never had a terrible time there. I've really enjoyed it all, like, and love it, and would highly recommend it.
But it's like it's something that, and I'm sure that you guys do up at QWA. Like the first thing that I sort of brought in when we were in there, as I said to Anthony, is like the biggest thing we have to concentrate on right now is quality control.
Mm-hmm.
Just because someone messages us and go, hey, I'd love to be on your show, don't be like, oh wow, awesome, somebody wants to be on a show, come and be on our show. So
no,
that doesn't happen anymore.
No,
that doesn't happen.
You can't do that now.
Yeah, I love that you're so nice to people, Anthony. It's great. But if that means that I have to be, well, I was like, if that means that I have to be the asshole, then I'll be that asshole. I don't care, because like at the end of the day, it's those people that are sitting in the crowd that I'm working for.
And if
I can make it.
Oh, so I was just saying, like, and that's the thing that I think you and I were on the same page, like, and I think that you understand that the biggest priority for us in QWA, and we ripped it straight from EPW because this is the same thing Davis told me. You need to focus on being the best live product that you possibly can be. That's all you care about, is be the best live product you can be. And that's all we've been striving to do. Like, couldn't give a toss about, video production and being on Fight TV and streaming and stuff like that. Let's just focus on the fans that pay those tickets and making sure that our matches are quality and that the people that we have on those shows are worth paying money to see. The rest will flow on after that.
Exactly. And like a lot of it is like you said, you couldn't give a toss about videos. I come from a different thing where like, if I can get that so it looks like I can dress these guys so they look great.
Oh, of course.
I can show people, hey, this is what's going on up here now.
Yeah.
We're not the I can't take a suplex guys. That's not us anymore.
Yeah, and that's absolutely. And I shouldn't say that. I'm not trying to bury our video guys.
No.
We have like two very talented video editors and producers. Like absolutely. Not all I simply meant by that was if for some reason we couldn't
dig up.
Yeah, dig up. If for some reason tomorrow we couldn't start running a YouTube channel or whatever, that wouldn't phase us, because at the end of the day, like our priority is making sure that our live product is quality, and then everything else flows on after that. And our video editing guys and our producers, they have an incredible log of work that they do, and they absolutely smash it. But at the end of the day, we can't survive off YouTube views.
At the end of the day, you have to advertise locally. Grassroots advertising is like it's the thing that, like, when I went down to Adelaide, I talked about this with Cree about it, because it's just like, realistically, we could say we've got all of these amazing wrestlers, and like, if we did Facebook targeted ads to Brisbane, how many of those Brisbane people are going to drive the 4 hours to watch the show? There is a very select few. I reckon we've got about 5 to 8 people that will drive up from Adelaide for every show.
Who'd make that trip.
And God bless them for doing it.
Yeah.
Because 100%. I don't know if I would. I honestly don't know if I would.
Someone that makes the trip from Cairns. We have a family that make the trip down from Cairns every show because they just love our wrestling. And we're like, those 5 fans are some of the most dedicated fans that any promotion could ever have, because they are so committed to what we do at QWA that they're willing to forego their whole weekend effectively to drive down, watch a wrestling show, drive back. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. You've sort of like for a while there, like the whole multiverse gimmick thing was going on. Was pretty much like there was Trinidad singles guy, Trinidad tag wrestler.
Yes.
You sort of lost the tag part now.
I did lose the tag part.
You did lose the tag part. How different does it feel now that you're pretty much focused on singles wrestling now? How much has it changed your mindset with wrestling somewhat?
To be honest, if I'm being completely honest with you, I went through a pretty big down period actually, on wrestling.
Damn you, Gabe.
Yeah, like I love wrestling in a tag team. I love wrestling with my friend. Like that was the biggest thing was I really enjoyed traveling with a mate and wrestling with him and doing shows and like shooting the shit afterwards and chat. Like I really love that stuff. So then after that sort of had to end for reasons I completely understand. I
got sick of you.
Yeah, pretty much. He just sent me the breakup text, and that was done.
Because well-renowned arsehole Trinidad.
yeah, dickhead. That everyone makes me out to be in Brisbane. No, he.
It's not true, by the way. Any people listening at home, I'm just like I'm explaining to people actually listening at home because the people that aren't watching this live stream can't tell the fact that we're taking the piss.
Yeah, we're taking the piss. Like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, somebody on an NGL wrote something to that effect on. I think it was Seth's.
Yeah, on Seth's NGL, they said that I was. Why does everyone think I'm such a big dick in Brisbane or whatever? Or am I as big a dick as everyone in Brisbane thinks I am? Which I popped for massive.
Yeah. So did I because like I don't mind you. That's the nicest thing you'll ever hear me say.
You tolerate
me, which
is completely fine.
You.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. You tolerate me.
It's like I said to Bobby, I tolerate the shit out of him.
Yeah, 100%. And like some people are worth tolerating, and I'm very appreciative that you think that I'm one of those people. But
no, but honestly, Trent and Gabe, the two of them, the nicest people that you'll ever meet. That's why I really try to go out of my way as much as I could to help them as much as I could. Even when you guys started your podcast, I threw the ad on this show every episode.
And that was really fun because we actually, thank you so much for that, because we actually did get a few crossover viewers come over and like have a look at our stuff, which was really cool. And then we would obviously keep trying to plug you guys back up as well, which was really fun. But yeah, I went through a bit of a down period with wrestling. I wasn't as enamored with it for a very long time because I didn't find the appeal in traveling solo. I didn't find the appeal in doing things on my own and having to organize flights and lifts and just being, sitting with my AirPods in and just sort of like waiting for the next ride to pick me up and take me to the next show. But I think now, because I'm on a different journey, I'm on like a learning journey and I'm on like a training journey and trying to like expand my repertoire. I think that I'm more accepting of the fact that I have to do it solo. And I pray that somebody comes out and wants to be in another tag with me and like wants to be my tag partner. I pray that happens. But at the same time, my mentality, peace. My mentality is now, if I have to do it on my own, then when I come back, I need to be better than when I left. I need to be smarter than when I left. I need to have done something different than when I left so that it's a worth it trip. Otherwise, it's just money that I'm not utilizing for the betterment of pro wrestling. And that's how my mentality has changed. And obviously, as a singles performer, I feel like my singles work I really wanted to improve my tag work. Like I really did. But now that that's not an option, I've only been focusing on singles work. So I have a lot of new stuff that I want to try now and try and get over because that's my sole focus. But if the tag boat ever comes up again, 100%, I'd jump on it. I love tagging. I genuinely think it's like one of my most favorite things to do in pro wrestling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always said that like you and Gabe were my rock and rolls.
Yeah, we love that, but Gabe abandoned you, and I'm a dick in Brisbane, so I'm really sorry. We could not have let you down harder.
And we all had that one match at Wide Bay where everybody got injured.
Oh, bro! Oh my god! So I snapped my PC. You know, I tore my PCL that match.
Yeah, you told me last weekend, the other weekend up in Townsville.
Tore my PCL, snapped it clean in half. I still don't have one.
When was that show?
That was, I remember, because
was it February?
No, it was
No?
late in the year.
Okay.
It was like, I want to say it was like your November or your August show. No, August, September, October. Maybe did you have an October show that year? I feel like it might have been your October show. Like it was one of the end of the year shows, because there was something on after it and I was panicking about being able to wrestle.
Was it camp? Was it camp?
It was. I genuinely think it was the camp. It was the end of the year camp. Yes. Because I remember just being like, oh my God, this is bad. This is really bad. And then I went to the physio and he's like, yeah, look at this. Click, 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 click. You have no PCL left. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then Gabe, who did his back? Someone did their back as well.
No, well, I know Tim did a knee as well, I think.
Tim did his knee as well because it was that. No, he did. Yeah, he hyperextended his knee.
Yes.
He hyperextended his knee and I tore my PCL in the same spot.
On the stage. On the stage,
doing some silly move that you
all insisted on doing, because I'm just like, you can just start in the ring. No, it'd be better if we did like this.
I didn't mind the brawl on the stage. It was just the moves that we did were fucking stupid. And I was just like, not worth it in the end. And as soon as I did it, I looked up at Tim and Tim was like, I've done my knee. And then I could feel my knee just filling with fluid. And I'm like, yep, I've also done my knee as well.
Yeah. So that was because I remember. Dreadful. Yeah, because it was you guys and Dick Storm. It was the three. So it was the three teams.
Lucha Rules. That's right. Yeah, it was the Lucha Rules tag. Yeah. And I remember
Mitch and I were waiting for our cue to go out and attack Riggsy.
Yeah, and I remember the whole thing was I was so appreciative that it was top tier and Dick Storm working the majority of the match, because we were like, as soon as that stage beatdown went down, I was like, man, I'm so glad we only have like 2 spots after this, because my knee is absolutely fried. And Gabe was like, yeah, all right, well, let's just get to that bit and then we'll move on, because it was very awful.
But now you're doing singles. You're doing a fair bit up at QWA with that sort of thing, like working into like a number 1 contendership for the title up there. You are the I was going to say the inaugural, but you're not, because there was before the PWL, just the Queensland Openweight Championship now in Pro League.
Yep.
That probably came as a bit of a shock to you.
Massive shock. Yeah,
that was thrown. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought when I got messaged, I thought he was taking the piss out of me. I thought he was genuinely like having a laugh, and then
because I told you what I said to him, didn't I?
Yeah, and I was like,
wait,
what? What did you say?
Yeah, just for those at home. Well, for those at home, one of the booker at Pro League messaged me and said, "What do you think about Trent O'Day?" I said, "For what?" And he goes, "For the ladder match." And I was like, "You might want to ask him about ladders."
That's right. No. Yeah, I thought he was taking the piss, because he was like, hey, man, we're thinking about this, this, and this. And I was like, yep, cool, sweet, no worries. What do you want me to do? And he basically said exactly that. How do you feel about ladder matches? And I was like, ha, good one, dickhead.
Nice one, dickhead.
Yeah, nice one, dickhead. Like, cool. Yeah, not a huge fan, actually, because of my history.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Trent lost a part of his finger in a ladder match.
There it is.
So
yeah, I didn't think that he was being serious, and then he was like, no, we're being fully legit. Like, this is what we're doing. And I said, look, man, because I love the guys at PWL, and I just said, look, if you want me there, I will be there. I will do it. And that's like no questions asked. And then to find out that they were putting the strap on me was a massive shock. I feel like to put your faith on a town, like in a Townsville guy is like super humbling and really, really nice. And it just goes to show that like if you do some hard work, like someone somewhere is going to notice eventually. And that was kind of what it felt like. So it was very, very nice. I'll be forever grateful for that.
Yeah. And like, it doesn't matter. Personally, I don't think it matters where you're from. I just think it matters that if you're a good person and you're a good worker, eventually people, it's like we joke now that Bobby's nickname now is Undeniable. That came from a conversation that him and I had when I just said to him, if you just keep working long enough and you keep working hard enough, you will eventually become undeniable. They won't be able to say you're not ready for this spot.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when I already knew I was putting the wide bay belt on him. He had no idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, if you just keep working and shut the fuck up, you're going to get something.
Oh, and like, I love Bobby, man. Like, he's the epitome of knuckle down, work hard, and just be a good person. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people they take for granted, that you've got someone down there in Brisbane who runs a school, who does it with his partner, who travels to all these promotions and puts guys over and makes every show he's on, like, tries to make it that little bit better. Just so privileged to have somebody like Bobby Bishop down there and, creating a scene like he has. And absolutely, he is the epitome of becoming undeniable, because he's so just keen to get stuck in and work hard and improve. And, I don't think he'll mind me saying, like, is he ever going to be like the world's most proficient, amazing wrestler? Probably not. But is he going to be the hardest worker in the room that can just do his stuff consistently in and out day after day and add incredible value to a show? 100%. Like that, you can always count on Bobby Bishop to do that.
The thing that Bobby's got, and that I really do, that I value, is that he might not have like the body of like a WWE worker or an AEW worker, but he has something that makes him identifiable with the crowd. He has an everyman look about him, but he also has a look that like when rolled up, I can kick some ass.
Yeah, 100%. He's got a gas tank on him as well. Just quietly,
dude's got cardio.
Work. He is fit. He can work, bro. He's got a gas tank on him.
But like he's likable. Like fans can relate to him. And that is so hard to have, like, so hard to get that connection with the fans. I don't think he didn't believe me when I said that he had it until he won that title and the crowd lost their mind. He goes, I didn't realize. I said, yeah, dickhead, don't you listen to your matches?
Yeah, dickhead.
Like, yeah, I'm not very nice. But it's like,
but that's true though.
For someone like me who because I'll sit there and I'll watch the shows because I'm editing the shows a lot of the time. So I'm listening to the crowd. So for a lot of guys, like they mightn't realize that because I'm not watching their matches on the night, because I'm usually doing 1,000 different things as you've seen on a show.
Yeah.
But that's because I know for the next week or so, I'm going to be watching that show back. Editing or looking for things, or just for me, taking notes about what I want to do going forward on a show.
Yeah.
Because I don't plan month to month. I plan 3 months to 3 months.
Yeah. Trying to put the angles together and all that sort of stuff.
But if I see a young guy or I see a worker that's really starting to get a reaction from a crowd, I'm going to go, maybe we should go with this, because obviously the fans are the ones that are paying our ticket. They're paying the tickets. They're buying the set. Maybe we should listen to them a little bit when they're saying, hey, we like this guy. Okay, then we'll put him in this spot. See how you like him here.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with the new guy Toa.
He looks cool, man. I don't know much about him, but he seems like somebody who's got a little bit of fire, which I really like. I'm keen to see
I
him.
wanted him to be this big bad heel, and he came in and the crowd just started cheering him, and he's such a nice guy that he finds it really hard to be a heel. And stupid me persisted in 2 shows. No, go out there and do this, and I'm sure that they'll start going. And they just didn't. And eventually they said, fuck it, we're going to turn your face. We might as well just go with what the crowd want, because obviously that's what they want.
Yeah, they just want to cheer you.
Yeah, they just want to cheer you, and you obviously like being. Some people like being cheered. Some people like being booed. It's just the way it is. Like like my former co-host that's sadly no longer with us, Josh, hated being booed. He
Really?
loved the idea. He loved the idea of being a bad guy until he actually went out to be a bad guy.
Oh
And then
no.
about 3 months into it, he realized, hang on, I kind of like the fact that they loved me.
Can't cook with the heat, brother. Oh, no good.
Well, it's not that. It's just some people just don't. Some people just don't like that. They
I
just
get
don't.
it, man.
Naturally,
I
they
feel
don't
uncomfortable
like
being
naturally.
a face.
I'm naturally I'm a shit stirrer, so I kind of don't mind like people not
I love
like,
being
like
booed.
hating.
I
Yeah,
love being booed. Being booed is my favorite thing. To be honest with you, I'm in the middle of a face run up here now. I would easily turn heel tomorrow if you asked me to, because I don't like being cheered because it's very obvious when I'm not getting cheered, and that puts me into social anxiety overload about like why am I not over? Why are they not feeling me? Why don't they like me? And getting like sad and whatever, right? Like I being booed, sick. Like if they boo me, awesome. That's what I'm going for. And if they cheer me, hey, some people like a bad guy. Cool. I get both sides of the spectrum. If I'm going out being like, I'm going to get cheered, and then I hear like some cheers, and then I hear just like, boo, you suck. I'm like, oh my God, they don't like me. And why don't they? And then I just tick over in my own head, right? So I actually hate being a baby face. I don't like it, but I'm forcing myself to do it. Excuse me, because
so I'm just so damn
I
lovable.
need to. No, because I need to learn to deal with it. I need to learn to cope and just get better at what's going on.
See, my favorite thing is not so much me being booed, but getting that baby face over. Like, and I think Mitch is the same. Mitch is the same. Like that, I think that's why we work together, sort of like as a unit, because both of us like we get off on getting that baby face over. If we can do something, but like if we can do something like to be heels and have us as booed because we know that baby face is going to come back on us later.
Yeah.
And that's when that crowd get to get back in, get stuck into us. That's one of my when we can build up enough heat that I'm like as an example for that hot tag.
Yeah.
We did. When that crowd blew for that hot tag because we knew we'd put on enough heat and got ourselves overhated enough that when they get the tag and they start getting their comeuppance, they're gonna love booing us and love cheering that baby face that is kicking our ass. And that to me is what I like. It's not as much as I don't mind being booed. I like getting that baby face cheered more.
When I ran my dealer program with Riggsy, and we paid it off we'd run like 8 months of build where I just kept ducking him and I just kept avoiding him, and the crowd was violent to have like me drop the belt to Riggsy. And they just needed it. And then we finally decided that we were going to pull the trigger at the August Riggs vs. O'Day show. When that final 3 count happened and you just the explosion of like cheering, I was lying there and I just remember just going, this is the greatest feeling, knowing that I've created and helped create this much angst amongst a crowd that they can finally release it in this big explosion of cheering. It was really, really cool. I really like that.
Yeah. For me, it was when we did like a year-long angle at Venom Pro Wrestling where I'd taken over the company, and it ended in like a War Games like cage match. At the end of the cage match, like all of my guys had been beaten. And I like tried to walk my way through the crowd and out the front door because I was like, I was just the shit heel. But we'd set it up so all the wrestlers that had been eliminated beforehand, because it was an elimination, not so much a War Games. Once you got beaten, you had to go to the back. But what we'd done is we'd set up like the other wrestler, the baby faces, to come through the front door and block me. And then I would go to another exit and the other baby face would pop up. And then I worked my way into the cage and closed the door and locked the cage. Like, nice. You can't get in there. And Anthony was standing behind me, like the owner of the Fed.
Yeah.
So it was just Anthony and I in the cage. And that match was already well over. And that crowd was like, it was deafening to the point where like I looked at Anthony, I was like literally all I said to him was like, punch me like turn around, punch me or clothesline me, pick me up, throw me to the cage. And that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
No, then throw me to the cage. I'll like sell off the cage, you come off and clothesline or punch me. And that's all we need to do. And we did it and went off. And I could hear the crowd. And I'm just like, off the top of my head, I've just yelled at Anthony, pin me. And he's like, well, it's not a match. It's just fucking pin me.
Just do it.
He jumps on me. Yeah, he jumped on me. And then the ref goes down and counts to 3. And that crowd, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
We got an
They
extra
just
pop
wanted it.
out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took me all I could to not like smile
Yeah.
when I was
Because
like
it's just
selling it
a
over, because-
visceral reaction.
Yeah, because we knew, like, I knew what we'd done had worked so perfectly. And it's
Yeah.
very rare. Like, I've come to realize now over that 12 years, like in wrestling, it's very rare you get those moments where everything seems to click. So when it does,
Exactly.
you have to, like, I suppose it would have been the same with you and Riggsy. When that thing actually does click, you've just got to savor that moment because you don't know when it's happening again.
It was just lightning in a bottle, man. Like it originally started as some like 3-month feud where we were just going to like, I'm not there, and then I'm there, and then I duck him, and then he beats me, and it was just going to be a nothing thing. And then Riggsy started getting uber over with our crowd for whatever reason, and then we just kept delaying it, and we're like, maybe we could push it back another month, maybe we could push it back another month, and then there was a show that I couldn't work because I'd already been booked on like another show, and I told the Fed, hey, listen, I can't be at QWA because I've already taken this date, and you guys have changed the date to something where I've already booked. Like, I'm not going to abandon this other Fed. And so QWA were like, yeah, that's totally fine. So we had to book it another month. And he reckons just by the end of it, the crowd were just frothing, like foaming at the mouth to see this match. And then we're like, no, we have to pull the trigger. And then the original plan was Riggsy wasn't going over. And I was like, no. We have to put the belt on.
Now you have to because it's been so long.
You can't. It's been so long, and it's been such a climactic build to have the heel go over and retain after this. It doesn't make sense. Like, I've got to put this guy over. And we did it, and the crowd were vicious, like standing ovation at the end, people out of their seats, like running down, because we were at a school and it was like this little mezzanine area. Kids were running down the mezzanine at the end, if you look at the footage, and like trying to like get pictures with him because it was so hot at the end. It was awesome.
Yeah, and it's a bit like as much as it's cool. I actually wouldn't know when people cheer for you. It's I think it happened once. It happened once at a grindhouse, and I looked at Jake at the time and went, "Are they really cheering me?" He goes, "Well, eventually they hate you enough that they like you." I'm like, that's fair.
yeah, that's how it works, right?
Yeah, it's yet to work anywhere else, but fair enough. But yeah, the best thing is just getting that baby fan. It must be such a good feeling when you've got all that crowd behind you.
Mate, when I get a heel that can put me over enough to make that happen, I'll let you know, and I'll let you know how it feels. But for right now, I am hating being a babyface just because I'm so socially anxious about like what's going on.
Look. I'm Anthony the Bull Romano. I'm still waiting to find someone that likes you. Fuck off. So much, yeah. Actually, that's a good point. This week,
Dude, the top tier haters page, pop.
Yeah,
huge pop. That absolutely sent me that someone hates you enough that they've made a fan page about it. That killed me.
You know what? When the boys are over, they're over. What can I say?
Hey, and you've done a great job at helping them get over, because you took the best in the game, Tim Hayden, and you took Mitch Ryder, who generic athletic guy, and Lloyd, who was relatively new to the scene, and you turn them into the guys, like the guys. And they always had the talent. I know that's exactly the first thing you're going to say, is they always had it in them, and they did. Like, anyone who knows Tim and Mitch and that from way back knows how good that they were. But to take them and transform them into the tag team guys, obviously in the state, and then the tag team guys possibly in the future of the country, unreal, man. Like, you guys have all worked so hard to become what we all knew you should have been, but it's really nice to see that happening.
Yeah, but I'm like we talked before about Bobby. Mitch is another example where like you're eventually going to be so good that you're undeniable, and that's where it is with Mitch. Like I knew a while ago that well before when he was in Gen Next with Cedric, I was like, I knew that they would like they had that thing. They have there's certain things that you can't quantify. When you look at someone, you just go, that dude's got it. I don't know why everyone else doesn't see this, but that dude's got it. I want to work with him. I want to try and help him bring that out.
Yeah.
And like it's the same with Tim. Tim and I, our orbits were never really, because he'd worked with IPW, he'd worked in like UPW, like stuff like that. So it was like we never really crossed paths that much until he'd gone to New Japan, the dojo with Mitch, and those two sort of worked together. And I was like, when Mitch was over there, we'd been talking. I was like, well, if Tim wants to work like the shows that we work, well, we might as well work together as a group. Like the name Top Tier, I think come from Solomon, because I was just being lazy and we were just going to call ourselves Next Level again. But that would have just been a rehash of the group that we had before. Wouldn't have really made the same amount of sense. Like I think this makes so much more sense. I give all the props in the world to Solomon for coming up with that, because it works so much. And it's a thing that like it was the same when I first thought of Next Level. It was because I kept hearing and it kept popping up every time I see something on the news or I'd see something in a talk show. Like, this shit's Next Level, man. I'll tell you, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
And then like it's sort of the same thing sort of happened with Top Tier. Like
that's top tier stuff. Yeah, man, that's stuff there, top tier. And you're like, yeah.
And people started doing that like not long after. Like it just happened that it would come into like the normal like vernacular of people saying like, this is great. They're like, oh, that shit is top tier. We're like, fuck, that's perfect for us.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, and thank God, because when the boys up in Townsville started calling themselves Next Level again, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was so funny when you sent the message through being like, haha, look, and then it was like the Next Level thing, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. Well, lucky that we didn't cross paths when that was happening, because that was entirely – they didn't even sort of think about that. I don't think they knew when they first put it together. Like,
they probably wouldn't have. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's so like so many like parallel thinking sometimes happens that you can't really be like, oh, they stole it. They just had the
so
same
many
idea.
things in wrestling, man, that before you start reusing and recircling old ideas, like
exactly.
You know,
I think it's just a matter of like if you're doing a name like that, it's just looking at trends that are happening and what people are starting to say, where they will associate that saying with you or that saying with like for example, for a lot of like shows, when I do like highlight reels or hype reels going in there, I will try and find like a cover of a song that's out now, but done in a different style. Because then when people hear that song on the radio, it might trigger them to remember.
They think of the Wide Bay highlight reel, and they're like, "Oh, I remember that."
When is that show?
Well, that was like the wrestling multiverse thing. I'm like, I've got it in the bag. Multiverse, Doctor Strange. It's a whole thing. I put it out there. I'm like, this is our thing, right? Like, I developed the concept, and I was talking with Gabe about it. I'm like, the companies are actually different universes, and then we travel between them. And that's like how we work in the travel gimmick, and we can walk and all this stuff. I shit you not, bro. Not 2 months after I'd been like, this is the multiverse thing, New Japan and that do the multiverse collide gimmick. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I come up with that. I was like, I'm going to sue. I'm going to send out a letter and be like, that's my shit. And you've stole it. Someone's listening to me, because I'd had this original, completely, I thought, original idea, and then someone else come up with it. So, man, it's everything's like swings and roundabouts, and everything gets used. Well,
that's like when I was booking Venom, we did a ladder match, and they were like, we need
the brass ring.
That's where I came up with the brass ring. It's like, why? It's just saying, fucking grab the brass ring, and then when it pops up on fucking AEW,
you're like, you motherfucker.
I took a screenshot of it and I sent it to to Anthony, and I just like, somebody owes me fucking residuals.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I saw Multiverse Collide 2 just got announced or just is about to happen or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
someone's paying me. And someone should be putting me, I'm headlining that show. That's my fucking show. That's my show. I was so annoyed when I saw that. I'm like, whatever. And then what shits me more is if, for example, I was going to go and travel around or maybe go in like cross country or whatever, or someone's going to see my gimmick and be like, oh, he stole it from New Japan. He stole the multiverse thing from that shit. I'm like, fuck you. I did it first. It was me. I did it first. They took it from me. But that's not.
Do you know how hard it is for me as a manager not being able to say my name at the start of every promo because people just think I'm doing Paul Heyman?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, my name.
You can't do it.
Yeah, you can't say who you are anymore.
No, you just can't. Not at the start of it. You have to work it through, and then like otherwise, everyone's like, "Oh, he's just doing Paul Heyman."
Yeah,
where really, I'm doing Bobby Heenan.
Yeah. It's so ridiculous
100%.
that somebody gets over with such a basic phrase, and you're like, "Cool, now that's ruined. Now I can't say that anymore.
I can't do that." I'm for a while there at Riot City. I was like, because at the time I was a massive ECW mark, so I would come out and I'd come out and start doing rhymes like Joel Gertner, but without the dirty.
Yeah,
it would just like be a rhyme. And by the second or third show, it started getting over and the crowd were getting into it. I'm like, well, I can't do that anymore now. They're not booing
it. Yeah, sweet. Another idea in the bin because I'm a heel.
I was like, yeah, I can't do it because they're starting to get behind it. Like they pop for it. And I'm like, I don't want them to pop for it.
So
then we did,
especially as heels. You don't have any fun. As heels, you can't have any fun at all because I had to stop coming out with the briefcase as the dealer because everyone was like, hit him with it. And I'm like, okay, well, now I can't because everyone wants me to hit it and they were going to pop for it. Because the one time that I did it and I fucking hit it, people were like, yes, he hit him with the briefcase. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I'm not coming out with that anymore because everyone wants me to hit people with it. And so I'm not.
I think one of my favorite live promos I ever did is I used deductive reasoning to explain why Chris Basso is better than John Cena.
What?
Well, see, Chris had won a match in Schwa against Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens beat John Cena. Therefore, Chris Basso is better than John Cena.
Is better than John Cena. Yep, 100%. Yep. And to me, that makes complete sense, and I'd get right behind that.
Yeah. Funnily enough, the crowd didn't.
Yeah, fair enough. They're marks, though, so who cares?
But that's true. Yeah, we hate fans.
Yeah. No, Oh, no, I can't say that anymore. See, I'm a baby face. I can't say that anymore. No, I love fans.
How much do you watch the international stuff? Do you watch like the AEWs, WWEs, that sort of gimmicks? Or do you not really? I know you said you just recently got into New Japan because you've been getting ready for Robbie. But
look, I watch a bit. I less watch, more keep in touch with, if that makes sense. Like I definitely don't watch anywhere near as much as I should. I definitely try and keep up with everything that's happening. And if there's any real matches that get like a huge ovation, I'll definitely go and sit down and watch those. But I'm actually really focused on like local stuff at the moment. Like I've watched more PWA this year than I have WWE. I've watched more, like EPW and stuff like that than I have any of AEW stuff. So I do keep in touch with it. But anything that you say, I will take on board and I will try and give you an outsider's opinion from somewhere that I don't know where it's coming from.
No, it's fine, brother. It's fine. Like I've realized how long we've been talking for now. And it's like, wow, we've gone a fair while.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, man.
My missus is out on the couch being like, can you
wrap it up?
Can you hurry up?
Yeah, just like, this is what I'm indicating right now.
Wrap it up. I've got sleep to have.
Yeah, time is what I'm indicating when I point to my watch. Look, man, I reckon, like, I had planned on doing other stuff tonight, but I think I'm just gonna leave it there because I've had such a good time talking with you, my friend. For what you've got coming up, like, I know you're still trying to sell a few tickets, not very many left, but at QWA. But for anyone who's up in Townsville and they're locally watching, how can they get tickets to go and see QWA? You got Brooksy there, so it's bound to be a good show. Hello?
Oh,
Can
no.
you hear me?
Sorry. You seem to have dropped out, but are you okay? Are we back again?
Yeah, I'm fine. Are you okay?
I don't know. I think I'm okay. Are you
Tell
asking
them
how to get tickets to QWA and how to watch all of our stuff?
Yes, please.
So obviously, like, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram and do all that sort of stuff. We are Queensland Wrestling Alliance. You can have a look at all that. So we actually have a website now, and it's a really fancy smanch. Well, not fancy smanch. It's nice. It's much better than what we used to have. So you can go to www.qldwa.com.au, and you can look at our stuff there, and you can purchase tickets. We've also got our QWA Christmas party has tickets up for Saturday the 2nd of December, which is going to be a completely new show that we've never run before. It's going to be very gimmick orientated. It's going to be quite fun and interactive with the fans, and it's going to be a nice little Christmas party style. So lots of joint tables where everyone sits around and has a bit of a laugh and has a bit of a drink, and there'll be some wrestling involved with that as well. So we're running that. We're going to trial that this year, but October 28th, tickets are still available. You will not be able to sit in the front row, second row, and it will be general and early entry only, so back from them. So they are selling out very, very quickly. So we would like to try and get rid of those as quickly as possible. And then if need be, we might also release some standing room only. We have done that before as well.
And also, I believe that we've signed you to work the Wide Bay show on the 18th as well, November.
You have. And if you haven't, then you need to fit me on there because I have flights and I'm coming down to watch the show.
So sit in the crowd and talk to Trent today.
Yeah, I'll sit here and run a podcast while you guys do all the wrestling. So November 19th, I will be down for Hall Brawl.
18th, yeah, Hall Brawl.
18th, sorry, yeah, 18th for Hall Brawl.
Right,
I will be down. Yeah, I'll be down for that, which will be super fun. I love working with you guys, man. Like I just have so much fun every time I'm down there, and I get to shoot the shit with you guys and chat with everybody. So I'm very, very excited to come back down. So hopefully, I can put on a nice fun show for you guys and first some up and coming Wide Bay talent.
Yes. Also, how can they follow you personally? It's at O'Day QWA on all the socials.
Absolutely. Every single piece of social media that I have at O'Day QWA and Trent O'Day on Facebook. You can catch me on there, and I try and keep all of my socials very together so that everyone can find me on everything. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, which is now X, and TikTok at O'Day QWA and Trent O'Day on Facebook.
I am at Beast Eastman on Twitter. I'm at Todd Eastman _BME on Insta. Just look it up on. I don't really do Facebook too much for Todd Eastman, so don't worry about that. But follow us on Wrestle Radio Australia on everything. Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter or X and Instagram. We will be back, I think, sometime next week because we've got No Mercy to cover, and also Wrestle Dream from AEW. We'll talk all about that. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of other stuff to talk over with the boys, Lachlan and Jeff. Unfortunately, they were going to try. One of them was going to try and be here tonight, but obviously something happened and they could not, that's fine. I don't care. I don't need them anyway.
I'm also hurt by that.
Also, for those of you watching at home, on the 11th of November, we will be doing a 10-hour live stream here for the 10th anniversary of Wrestle Radio Australia. During it, we're working in a way where we're doing it to raise money. We're doing it for a charity thing as well. So it's not just a celebration of us being around for 10 years. We're doing a charity stream where we're going to try and raise money for mental health, for men's health, money to go to like Gotcha for Life and Lifeline, all of those, the people that do really good work in trying to help battle this shit that's going on with everybody, because everyone goes through it. If you look on, it's what's it called? Is it Down Under, Wrestling Down Under? You know, the PW Donut Down Under.com?
PW Down Under.
Yeah, I did an article this week or last week about mental health in pro wrestling. So if you want to read that, and that's fine. Yeah, hopefully we're trying to gather some stuff where we can auction stuff off. We can do that sort of stuff during the 10 hours. So, yeah, nice. Please on the 11th. So I think it's from 12 to 10. I think we said we were going to do it for. So more of that will be happening as we come up to the date, and we'll be talking about it more. I know I contacted this week Redneck Kung Fu about designing a T-shirt for it. So that will probably be going on sale as well to try and raise money for that charity, because for those of you that don't know, and you should know, I talk about it all the fucking time. The co-creator of this show, Josh Armour, he lost his life to mental health. It really has affected this show, and it affects pretty much everyone to do with not just wrestling. Everyone, I'm sure that everyone watching this, everyone listening to this, has had something or somewhere that has been affected by mental health. It affects everyone's life, unfortunately. And if we can do something to stop that from happening to people, then our little thing that this 10-hour thing that can help, maybe we can do some good. So leave on that very cheerful note. Until this time, I think it's Thursday. I think it'll be Thursday next week. I am Todd Eastman. That is Trent O'Day. This has been Wrestle Radio Australia.
With a big stand like Stone Cold with a few beers. Play the game, I end the game. I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker. Bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, turn like country muscle. If you suck